The giveaway is now open. My Nespresso virtual line coffee machine giveaway is now open. As you all know in my vlogs, I'm always talking about my coffee. I love my Nespresso machine, and now I want to gift one of my subscribers one. To gain early entry, you will need to leave a response to 2 comments that I have left on my Black Women in Luxury video. Click the I up at the top right corner and gain your entry. What is divestment? Divestment is simply Black women choosing to put our needs and womanhood first. It is not giving access to any individual, group, cause, or agenda that does not uplift Black women and our image. This also includes other Black women as well. Furthermore, divesting has absolutely nothing to do with centering men of any race. It is a movement about raising personal standards and taking any man, race, or group off the pedestal and replacing them with ourselves. There seems to be a lot of confusion surrounding what exactly divesting is and who it's for. So, to set the record straight, and so that we are very clear, the movement is for, started by, and exclusive only to Black women. It seems that every time Black women start something, it always manages to get co-opted and convoluted by other parties. That stops today. As Black women, we will no longer allow the kumbaya, all-inclusive energy that has traditionally permeated Black women's spaces. Today, we get on code by centering our own self-interest as important. For some, this might be offensive, but that's fine because Black women are done being bullied into staying in our own place and going along with status quo. We are done accepting less while doing the most. More than ever before, Black women have options. Options in terms of careers, dating, mating choices, where we live, who we listen to, and who we deem valuable. But more often than not, Black women choose to be boxed into narratives that put us last in our own story. And in some cases, even as the butt of the joke. The divestment movement is about centering Black women front and center. Divestment is saying no to being regulated to the sidelines or being a B player in someone else's story. It's about being the headliner. These words were written by Shay Capri, and you can find her complete article on medium.com. I came across the article when I was researching divestment and what exactly it is and means to Black women. Now, understand, like any other movement, you're going to have factions. Everyone will not be in agreement with the definitions or even the practices. But I did appreciate Shay Capri's breakdown of divestment and how she's understanding it in the 2020s. Now, divestment is nothing new. It's been prevalent on the platform on YouTube for a number of years. And I really wanted to talk about it. But I didn't want to talk about it from the common angle, which is either divestment is bad because it's all about swirling and white men, being put on pedestals by Black women, or going to another extreme route, which is divestment is the only thing that will save Black women and we need to just leave all Black men alone because they're not worth it. Because I don't believe either of those things to be true. And I also think most people discussing divestment are usually only existing on one or the other side of these extremes. And this channel isn't about extremes. What I like to do is I like to provide history, context, and more nuance to these conversations. If you were to ask me, divestment, as it's being understood popularly now, divestment is a trauma response. Black women are running away from something. And no matter how you tell the story, right, white men won't save Black women, and neither will Black capitalism. So why are so many Black women seemingly invested in divestment? Is Meghan Markle really their queen? Has Serena Williams betrayed us? And what even is the pink pill saying? A very popular divestment swirl promotional channel. So this collective response to trauma truly isn't as new as you think it is, right? I've only very recently been introduced to divestment for Black women, and it's a curious case that I'd like to make not an argument for, but perhaps provide a defense, maybe. I'm not really sure, but we're on this ride together. So through my research, it became very clear, like any other movement online, there are your extreme believers and you're not so extreme. And what I want to do today is talk about and focus on those who have taken the time to give us text on this practice, on this theory, on this lifestyle. And I think it's important to acknowledge that divestment is a practice, right? It's a conscious choice to live in a very specific way. You're either divesting as an individual or you're divesting from the community as a whole, because divested individuals don't all make the choice to divest from the community as a whole. But the women who have decided to divest from the community as a whole, I would say, lean more towards being extreme in thought and practice. Divesting as an individual requires you to focus more inward and give less energy to external Black issues. Keyword is less. So you're not totally stepping away from the Black community. It's just that the whole advancement of all Black peoples being your core focus isn't your gig, and that's cool, I guess. We all handle grief differently because Black people, especially those of us in America, are all together suffering from grief, quite a heavy grief. And so how we all handle it is going to be different. Individual divestment focuses on, I find, romantic relationships between Black men and women. And there's an emphasis on the presence of misogynoir, and these women in general have decentralized men in their lives. And if you ask me, I think we could all benefit from decentralizing men in our lives. Black women in America and honestly all over the globe, but not particularly on the continent, because this isn't really a thing in Africa, right? Are grieving an experience that they've never had and only have sanitized versions of it marketed to them. Black love isn't a myth, and we know that. And as great as that knowing is, we also know that there is a deep fracture between Black men and women, all Black peoples, really. And so in order for us to understand how these fractures began and where this disconnect comes from, we have to have the history. So a lot of people like to talk about how there was this required law that took Black men out of the home, essentially. And just to give you a brief note on it, New York City had this man in the house rule, right? It required welfare workers to make unannounced visits to determine if fathers were living in the home. If there was evidence of any male presence, right, cases were closed and welfare checks discontinued. If the man in the house wasn't the father of those children, and he was able-bodied and was able to work, and they could find the presence of an income being provided from this man, the welfare workers would close. Okay, they would close and discontinue these cases. So Black women were put in a very peculiar situation where if they were married, if they were just dating, if they just, whatever, they could not risk having the presence of a man in their households because they wouldn't be able to receive necessary funding to feed their children. It's absolutely horrid and ridiculous. Now, the man in the house rule was struck down in 1968 by the Supreme Court in King versus Smith. That's a really great thing. But for the decades that the man in the house rule prevailed and was adopted over and over by different states in their own jurisdictions, meaning they could do the man in the house rule, they could replicate it in any way that they felt was necessary within their jurisdiction, the damage was already done. Right? The damage is already done. literally forcing people to break up their homes, break up their families so they could afford to eat, was very damning. And we are still trying to recover from that fracture. So when I say that divestment is a trauma response as it's being understood today, and as it's, I'll say, being promoted and marketed as practice, as a trauma response, I truly mean that. Divestment is a trauma response. Black women are trying to figure out what privileges do we have and how can we capitalize off of those privileges. It's why I deeply, deeply reject the notion that Black women, particularly dark-skinned Black women, do not benefit from pretty privilege. That's not true. We absolutely do. It is going to be different for where you are, but we absolutely do. I would even go as far to argue that Black women benefit very deeply from exoticism. Now, I'm not saying you have to play into that privilege of exoticism, but understand that you are exotic. Like, if you are a Black woman and you are outside of Africa, then you are othered and you are exotic. And that is a very warped privilege within itself. Now, if you were to ask me if I think more Black women, particularly dark-skinned Black women, should play up the exoticism thing, I absolutely do. Y'all know that I made a video about the Claremont twins and why bimbofication wins, why it's earning them an income, and why I really don't see anything wrong with it and truthfully have no problems with it. And I wholeheartedly 100% disagree with the folks who were like, that is the kind of thing that's ruining the Black community. No, it's not. However, Black peoples, especially Black women, decide to advance themselves by capitalizing off of the privileges that we do have within America, I am here to support it as long as it is not literally personally harming any individuals or groups of people. Right? Right. So if a Black woman decides that she's going to benefit from being exoticized and othered and fetishized, guess what? As long as that is not individually hurting or harming an individual person, herself or others or a group of people, I am going to support her in that. Now, I do think that a lot of people believe that divestment is focused on swirling and that divestment is focused on Black women marrying outside of their race, specifically marrying white men. That's 100% not true. In my research, honestly, especially in the earlier days of divestment coming into its own as an actual social practice, as a theory, when Black women began writing papers and essays on it, doing researches, right? But actually, it is through this sort of movement where we got the research that marriages between Black women and white men last longer and fare better than marriages between Black women and Black men. It's also where we got the research that marriages between Black women and Asian men also tend to last longer than the marriages between Asian men and Asian women. Now, doesn't that seem like, crazy? It does. But what that research tells me is that as much as Black women like to believe the lies that we are not preferences to men outside of our race, we absolutely are. We are preferences. Again, I am not saying you have to feed into it. I'm not saying you have to sell that to people. I'm just saying that does exist. And so we do have to acknowledge it. But the discussion I haven't been hearing is how this is a trauma response. And when I say trauma, I'm speaking more to the women who consider themselves divested. These women who are on the more extreme level of considering themselves divested, women who have divested not only as individuals, but from the community as well, and who really do feel that they had to go outside of the race because there wasn't something here for them, because they weren't being accepted, because all they were experiencing was pain. Their response to that was, okay, I'm going to literally leave my community. I'm going to divest from it. I'm not going to be invested in the advancements of all Black peoples, and I'm not going to be invested in being romantically interested in Black men. That always comes from a place of hurt and trauma and pain. And so to think that white men are the savior absolutely feeds into the white savior complex, but it also shows our, I want to say, lack of progress, and that's what's first coming to mind. So I'm going to say that. It does show our lack of progress, but let me please explain myself. Black women who decide to marry outside of their race, not because they just fell in love with that person, but because they see it as a security net and security blanket, have absolutely 100%, 10,000 billion trillion right to do that. Here's the thing about marriage. Marriage is a contract. Marriage is a contract. When you marry somebody, that person is allowed to do a lot of things for you. You are allowed to do a lot of things for that person. You're sharing a whole bunch of legal things. You are tied to this person, right? And it's kind of difficult to get out of that. Like divorce, even to this day, is still not easy. Now, thankfully, you don't have to go to the queen anymore, or to the pope, or to the king, or to the president to get like permission to divorce somebody. But litigation and the process of the divorce is a lot. So people will do whatever they can to avoid that. And I feel that a lot of Black women feel that if they can marry somebody who gives them a higher social standing, then they will be protected, at least within that insular bubble that they exist in. So if I'm a Black woman and then I marry a white man, at least I know that within this social setting dynamic with my white husband, people could feel how they feel about me, but they're not going to do that to my like white husband. Even if they don't agree with the fact that he's married a Black woman, he is still a white man. So the privilege still gets extended to him. Thereby, I do benefit from this privilege, even if it's just a smidgen. Benefiting from this privilege keeps me safer than having a partner that doesn't have that same kind of privilege in the world. And like I said, I really don't blame the women that do this. What I would like is for the extremists, the Black women who consider themselves divested, who feel that there's absolutely nothing here for them within the Black community and amongst Black men romantically. I would like for a healing to begin, because it has happened on both sides. You know, we have all seen, I don't know if we've all seen it. Maybe you didn't see it, you didn't watch it. But, you know, when Black men have these podcasts, Fresh and Fit, for example, and there is a pattern of behavior, what happens is, instead of us shutting that down and not engaging with that content, we hate engage. So we continue to give them views, we continue to give them revenue. We also continue to reinforce that this kind of behavior will get you a response. And if we would like for people to stop behaving a certain way towards us and speaking about us in a certain way, we have to stop giving it a response. Like, just no response, none. I feel that even giving it like a negative response, that's still doing something for them. They're still benefiting from that. They don't care if you feel good about it or you feel bad about it, as long as you engage with that content and keep it going somewhere else. We need to stop. We need to stop engaging. Divestment for Black women is a radical act simply because it is about being a Black woman who puts herself before others. Other races of women have historically been afforded the luxury of resting in their femininity, both figuratively and symbolically. While Black women in this country and others have routinely been portrayed as the labor class, a la The Help, it's no wonder Black women's image, both globally as well as internally, has been significantly lower than it should be. As Black women, we face a unique set of circumstances that have kept us an unprotected and oppressed class, not only within our own racial group, but within the dominant society as well. And I say dominant, with quotes, because, are they really the dominant society? No. No. They absolutely are not really the dominant society. They're just the ones who, quote unquote, hold the power. But, that's all shifting and changing anyway. These issues, instead of being addressed, are often coped with Black women feeling as if though it's necessary to put others first and hoping if we can just be good enough or cape hard enough or be strong enough, then everything will be okay. But that absolutely does not work. It only makes others want more labor, more energy, more coddling, more muling, until there's literally nothing left to give. People do absolutely treat Black women as their mules. People are succubuses. People are always looking for us to be on the front lines. People always want us to be marching for us. People always want us to be doing something for us before they ever do anything for us. They want us to do everything for them before they'll do anything for us. All the time. All the time. And if you are a Black woman who decides, I don't want to march. First of all, I don't think marching is productive. I don't think it's going to do anything. I don't think it's going to bring about the change you all wish to see. Let me just take a tangent here right for a minute. I kind of have a little when it comes to how we are protesting. I think that we need to stop marching. Yeah, I'm serious. I don't think walking in the street is advancing us at all anymore. It used to. That used to be a tactic. It's played out. We've done that already. We need to stop doing it. We need to stop doing it. We need to just start demanding things. We need to start saying, if you don't do this, here's our retaliation if you don't do something. I know that Black people truly, honestly, naturally are not a people that really want to provoke and cause violence. We're not. Historically, we're not. I don't care. And people like to say, well, Black people have their own slaves. Look at Egypt and look at Niger and look at... Stop. None of our systems operated like chattel slavery. One, we know that. Two, doesn't matter what wars we may have had before our history was interrupted. We absolutely never behaved in the way the Europeans did. Absolutely not, baby. That's not in our history. You cannot find it all the way back to 79 AD, 204 BC, whatever, 19 to 23. That's not our history. We don't operate like that. We don't. And a lot of the more gruesome and vicious wars that have happened amongst tribes and certain countries on the continent. A lot of these practices that are now happening in these wars, a lot of these tactics, a lot of these methods are not natural or common to us. They were taught and learned when our history was interrupted. So let's get that straight. So it's really not natural for us to want to cause discord in that way. But, sometimes you have to fight folks in the way that they understand. And one thing that people seem to understand, especially in America, is money. They need us. I really need us to start fighting with our pockets a little bit more and not with our feet so much. We did that already. It's done. Pack it up. Move on. Find a new tactic. Find a new method. Also, everyone's work is not to be out there on the front lines. And to be quite honest, I don't think Black women need to be on the front lines anymore. We've been on the front lines. Someone else's turn now. If y'all want to be allies so much, y'all march, not us. Not us. Divestment is taking our power back. It's saying access denied. If it doesn't uplift Black women, we divest. If it doesn't support Black women, we divest. If it doesn't honor the image of Black women, hey, guess what we're going to do? We divest. This also means, but is not limited to, pulling support from TV shows, movies, actors, rappers, singers, songs, podcasts, social media, men, women, or children. Or children that disparage Black women or girls in any way. This pulling of support also includes any and all activism that doesn't center Black women's issues, including but not limited to feminism, immigration, transgenders' rights, men's rights, and social justice work for any and every cause that does not center Black women. Unfortunately, our labor has been used, abused, and not reciprocated for far too long. Therefore, it is not about Black women. We divest. Divesting is also about the exclusive upliftment of our images as monoracial Black women. Let me stop here. It's very important to understand that when this movement began, and as it continues, it does have an emphasis, a focus on being primarily for, and founded by monoracial Black women. And if you want to get to specifics or everything like that, Black women, and you know what I'm talking about. Divested women simply don't have the capacity to promote the image of other races of women over our own when we're being erased within our own race. We will no longer sit back and allow this erasure without being vocal and withdrawing support from this practice. Being a divested woman is being a woman that's not afraid to compete to be on the top. Maybe that's why it's called racist. Divested women don't sit around exhibiting self-deprecating or stereotypical behaviors. We don't glorify others while degrading our own. We honor ourselves and we work to be the best Black women that we can be. Regardless of circumstances, a divested woman will course correct and do what it takes in life. You know, as I keep reading the Shea Capri article that you can find on medium.com, hold on, I need to take a sip of my coffee real quick. All right, excuse me, y'all. I'm really appreciating how she is emphasizing that this is not just about Black women's dating preferences, okay? This is about our politics. This is about our lifestyle. This is about our safety. This is about our environment. This is about our health, right? It's Black women saying anything that is not focused on uplifting, advancing, and protecting us, we will not be engaging with it, period. That's divestment. I would argue that the divestment movement has been co-opted by more extreme thoughts and belief systems and even some bad faith actors, people who aren't even really divestors. They just want to cause discord, who are trying to make it all about swirling, who are trying to make it all about Black women just not dating Black men anymore and putting black men down and just saying really outrageous, outlandish, and harmful and dangerous things online. Like I said, I am not a divested Black woman. Absolutely not. I'm very pro-Black. I'm very much involved within the advancement of all Black peoples and Black communities, but my primary focus is always Black women. I'm a cisgendered Black woman, and so I believe, like all people should, I'm going to focus on myself first. So that means that those who are like me are my primary concern. I care about all Black people. I care about all of us. I want liberation, freedom, and equity, and love, and joy and abundance for all of us. But I'm going to work to get that for Black women first. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to focus on myself. I got to put myself first, Lucius. I'm going to focus on me and mine first. And I think that's okay. It's reminding me of even what's happening now, the discourse with the Black women in luxury movement. Like, I have so much admiration and respect for Kimberly Foster. I absolutely do. And I respect most of what she was saying. And her Black women deserve more than luxury video. But at some point, I want Black women to get comfortable not having to politicize everything. And I know the personal is political. I get it. But guess what? We can divest from that. We can decide, hey, like I'm literally hearing how you're politicizing this right now. And I'm deciding I don't care. We're deciding we don't care. Like we're not buying into it. We're not listening to it. We're not going to follow it. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And we're going to be happy about it. I think that people are just deeply uncomfortable when Black women say, I don't care. I think people think it's unusual and unnatural for Black women to say, I do not care. I do not care, because for so long, we have been the faces of martyrdom. We have been the ones out there saying, I care so much so I will put myself in danger and in harm's way before anybody will do it for me. Actually, I'll continue to do it when people tell me boldly they won't do it for me. I'll do it for them. I'll do it for the person that tells me they wouldn't do it for me in return, right? So because people are so used to seeing Black women do that, when Black women say, I don't care anymore, and then Black women behave in that way that says, I don't care anymore, people are like, oh, something's got to be wrong with you. No, nothing is wrong with me. I'm just exhausted. I'm just tired. I'm just frustrated. I just don't understand why you keep expecting me to work for you like I'm a mule, because I am not. I am not. We have to centralize ourselves. Bring me back to the point of divesting in men and decentralizing men and your narrative as a woman, as any woman, right? Because just women, right? Like, destroy the patriarchy. So divesting in men. This is the simplest part of divesting. Being a divested woman is about going where you are appreciated, valued, and uplifted. Any man that can honor you and cherish you is the man that can get a chance. When it comes to dating, a big part of it is your self-worth and perceived value in the sexual marketplace, because it is a marketplace. And I want us to get used to this language. All right, y'all, please. If you feel yours is low, work towards improving it. But in the meantime, divested women don't settle for toxic or low value men. As a matter of fact, we don't even deal with them. If a man is not a valuable member to society, i.e. unemployed, toxic, unworthy, a perpetual baby daddy, a user, a man who puts his hands on people, a criminal, etc., a divested woman will not dare date or marry or try to, be about these men. It's really that simple. Divested women are all about finding the best ones for the job, such as men that have proven that they value family, healthy relationships, or simply value what you value. Okay? Men that can do and provide by exhibiting behaviors of doing so. You have to find that, because that's what a high value, y'all keep talking about high value man. Your values are your core belief systems, baby, not the money in your account. Understand that. So those are really the only men that should even be considered for a divested woman to date. The focus and primary mission for divested Black women is to have a happy and healthy life by getting away from and not supporting toxic people, media, and environments that actively work to damage our quality of life as Black women. If that means moving to a different neighborhood, changing the type of men you date, or even cutting off toxic family members, whatever it takes to prioritize yourself first as a Black woman is what is encouraged to do in order to be a truly divested woman. Y'all, I really like what she had to write. I really, really, really like what Shay Capri had to write. Now, Divest, a Movement for Black Women, can be found on medium.com. It was published on August 6, 2020. It's a 5-minute read. This video clearly is longer than 5 minutes because I was stopping in between paragraphs to give you guys my thoughts and opinions. And in some cases, I wasn't even reading the paragraphs. I was simply just giving you all a good 2 to 3 minutes of just my thoughts and opinions and research from what I have found from Divestment. Please let me know your thoughts on divesting. Please let me know if you think there should be things added to the lexicon of the divestment vocabulary and thesaurus. And, tell me how you understand divestment to operate on YouTube, on the platform, and just like in the world. Like, how are you engaging with divestment? I think, honestly, a lot of us possibly could, if we really examined ourselves and our politics, could consider ourselves divested. Some of us could consider ourselves divested to some degree. But like I said, I don't consider myself divested at all. At all. If I do sit down and take a real deep dive into myself and my politics, child, I'm probably only divested by 10%, but that 10% is really when I tell you I do not engage with media that does not uplift me, that does not celebrate me, that does not make me feel good, or that I just don't. I don't babes, when I see tweets or posts or whatever about something that is derogatory towards Black women, when I tell you I block that so fast, I block it, I delete it, I do whatever I can to not see that kind of content, so I don't engage with it. I don't even want to give it a hate. Nothing. That I'm divested from that. You know what I'm saying? I divest from that sort of stuff because it does nothing for us. What is sharing a podcast that's talking badly about us as a group do for? It does nothing. What, we're going to critique the people talking about? Fuck them. Stop talking about them. Who cares about them? Block them, delete them, report them, and move on with your day. Because it is not advancing you or us as a collective. Is just spreading that message. And why would we want to do that? Pero why would you want to do that? Pero it's stupid. Don't do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I wasn't in the video this time, but y'all, sometimes I had to just get my thoughts out, and sitting down to record, I'm gonna lose my train of thought. So sometimes I need to just sit down and get my thoughts out and give y'all a more podcast style video. Make sure you do comment, subscribe, share this video, and get chatting. I'll be chatting much more about this topic in my community tab. I also feel like I want to do a follow-up video to this. I'm getting inspired as I'm writing down notes, so I probably will do a follow-up video to this. I appreciate everybody who watches this. Thank y'all for coming to my channel and just being open to having these sort of conversations. I'm committed to creating a space on YouTube that is not this or that. It's not saying that I'm not going to pick a side, right? It's not saying that I'm not going to have clear core and foundational belief systems and practices. But when I speak about things, when I do my research, I'm never coming here to present to y'all why something should be this or why something should be that, because we're human beings. We're so much more nuanced than all of that. So I don't want to be having conversations where I'm like, this is wrong and this is right. I don't believe divestment is wrong. I think that there are varying degrees to it. The thing I really just don't agree with the most is when it comes to like just outwardly bashing Black men. Like I said, there's a disconnect there. We are having our issues, but I do believe we can work through it and heal together. I, for one, am marrying a Black man. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, my husband is blackity black. So, yeah. But we just have to acknowledge when these things are happening and figure out where they're coming from. And just understand that everything has a historical context to it. Like, Black women didn't just wake up one day and be like, oh, okay, like, white men are going to save us. And they're like, no, like, this stuff goes way, 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 way back. Like, babes, we couldn't even have our boyfriend in the house if he had a job, because that means that they were going to snatch our food stamps and now we can't feed our kids. Like, what? That was done on purpose. Like, that was done on purpose to break up the home, break up the families, create confusion and chaos, really agents of destruction, if you ask me, putting something like that into law. But it happened to us, right? It happened, and we are still trying to recover. A lot of things happened to the Black community in the 60s and 70s and 80s that we have not recovered from yet. We just haven't. We just have not recovered from it yet. And so we do get these movements that have factions and have extreme views at times. And I don't think it benefits us to just say these people are dumb or stupid or terrible or bad. No, babes, we need to have a really open and honest dialogue about all of these things and why they're happening, and continue to push these conversations forward. I love y'all, and I will absolutely be back with another video quite soon. Enter the giveaway. Thank you.